So a lot of people, when they hear about starting a business in Africa, one of the things that gets in their head is agriculture, going farming, because they think that we are like full of land only, and the only thing that you can do is go and farm. But there's a lot to Africa, and Vusi actually answered it in a very nice way. Previously, we had promised to show you one of Vusi's videos and see if his advice is worth it, and we just got one shot that he has on his stories, and we're gonna play it right now. Let's see what he has to say.
A lot of guys ask me, what is the most successful way to build a business in Africa? First is to recognize that Africa is nuanced. It's 54 different countries, over 1,000 different tribes, over 3,000 different languages. There's no such thing as one single Africa. It's all different.
Now, this is true. We don't have like one Africa. We have different cultures, and yes, we have things that are the same all over the place, but then there are certain things that are a bit different. For example, I was talking to one of our friends, Sylvia, and she was telling me that whenever she was doing consultancy work, like in Kenya and Zimbabwe, Botswana, she figured out that there are certain things that are the same in terms of work culture. But then when you're coming to economies and the culture of the social people, how they interact one person to the other, there are subtle differences which, if you ignore, they might cause real problems, especially when you start a business.
Right? So know where you are and who you're doing business with, what are the cultures, the traditions, etc. Second, and the most important thing I can tell you about building a business in Africa.
Okay, so after we have accepted the differences between the different countries, like the 54 different countries in Africa, we have to acknowledge and find the best way to work depending on the region you want to work in, because you can't just say I'm going to Africa to work when you are probably going to East Africa or Southern Africa. You have to know the region you want to go to and how the people there do their business. For example, music in Eastern Africa is totally different from music in Southern Africa. You find that the music industry in the Southern Africa is more of amapiano, and it's different from the one that you get from Eastern Africa, and which translate the same to business. The type of businesses that you find in Nigeria are a little bit different from the ones that you find in South Africa and Zimbabwe. Why? So you need to understand those cultural differences and how best you can work with the person depending on the region you want to work in.
Get yourself a sponsor. Every game, every industry you are in has somebody in it who's been there before, who's well known, loved, respected, and who can open doors for you that you don't even know exist.
So when you're getting into a new place, you need to find a sponsor, as he was saying, because every market has someone who is adored, someone people actually look up to, someone people trust, and someone who has experience, who has done something like what you want to do before. They'll help you know the areas that you definitely don't know, just as Vusi is saying here. And one of the most difficult things here is that what you think is normal in your area, you might find out that it's totally different in the new space you want to go into. So this is very important, because certain cultures, if you do something socially which is off, then definitely they will not come and support your business, which is more economic. So the social thing that you do affects tragically your economic point and your business.
Get yourself a decent sponsor. And third, play the long game. The problem with the world today is too many of us are just worried about the next round, the next raise, the next. We're not thinking about the long-term game anymore. If you want to do business here, play the long game and you will succeed. I hope that helps you. Make sure you subscribe to get...
So he's saying play the long game. Play the long game. What is playing the long game? Probably it's not just looking at what you want to do in the next year or in the next few months. You're looking at what you want to do in the next 5, 10, or even 20 years going up, where you see the business going. Because when you're entering into a new market and you want that business to succeed, you have to look at what are the differences, because those differences are going to affect your business in the first few years as you're adjusting and getting used to the market. And once you've done that, that period is an adjustment period. You cannot really make an assessment of whether your business is growing or not. And if you're able to succeed, pass through that phase, then what's coming next is amazing, because you have survived the difficulties and the challenges that African markets have to bring. And you can safely say, I can maneuver the African market and the business works. Firstly, you have to find out the culture, the different culture in the region that you want to do the business in. Secondly, you find someone who is influential, someone who knows the ups and downs, someone who has experience in something that you want to do. And then lastly, play the long game, just as Vusi has said. Now we go back to the farming thing. Farming is really, really profitable in Africa. That's why everyone talks about farming. But then that doesn't mean that's the only business. Anyway, if you farm in Africa, you have the potential of providing whatever you're doing at your place to the rest of the world, because Africa is actually supplying, especially meat, to Europe and Asia. So that's why people always talk about farming. But we got a lot to talk about.